As a business major turned theologian, I would like to talk about investment today. Investment, the action or process of investing money for profit or material result. What kinds of investments do you have? Perhaps a 401k or a larger retirement fund? A diversified portfolio investment? A house? Or maybe several houses? College funds for your children? Or artwork? People invest, expecting a greater positive result in return. No one really invests into anything useless. If we look into the psychology of investments, there's something more than greater financial gain at stake. At the heart of it, investors want to ensure that they don't become vulnerable or dependent on others. They want security. And behind the want of security lies fear. Our Lord Jesus Christ says, "Do not be afraid," to his disciples, and presents a solution right away. For it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Imagine that, God's kingdom. I can see how my fears of financial insecurity would be gone once I knew I would come into an inheritance. There would be no need to strive to accumulate wealth. Now, imagine inheriting an entire kingdom. Those of you, or us, who have been to Europe or other places where there are or were dynasties have seen the palaces and castles and the splendor of what those kingdoms hold. Imagine that, but in a holistically perfect version. Jesus then continues, "Sell your possessions and give alms." This would not be the best investment strategy on earth if it were not for the grand inheritance. Why sell what we own to give alms? Or in modern terms, do mercy ministry? One, because money has its own force. It can corrupt, isolate, and give the illusion that you'll be free of fear, which is a lie. God knows our competing interests. And when that interest becomes our passion, and when we invest too much of our thoughts, time, and resources towards it, it becomes an idol that enslaves you. Secondly, by the way we spend money, we are making a statement, which is not only a financial one, but a social one as well. In the time of the Old and New Testaments, giving money without any expectation of return was done to family members. To give and share with those who are vulnerable and needy is to treat them as our own. And since they are indeed God's children, we are making a social statement that we are part of God's economy, that we are on God's side of things. Jesus says, "Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys." Herein lies a third reason to give alms. Jesus points out the futility of our earthly struggles and ambitions to accumulate riches and invest into material things. Nothing, absolutely nothing that we own here on earth is eternal. Houses crumble, investments fail, and many things we purchase eventually depreciate in value. Today's gospel message frees Jesus' disciples to live without anxiety and to place their security in God rather than in possessions and stored wealth. It frees us to be faithful to God rather than wasting our times and energies on things that only give the illusion of security. The type of investment that does not fail is one where you invest into God matters. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. In other words, what we invest in is very telling of our heart orientation. Let us take a moment and think about our investments, financial and emotional. What are you invested in the most? What are you thinking about all the time? A good way to notice what you are invested in is to check your blood pressure. Does it rise and fall the opposite way the stocks are doing? Or does it rise when you see the homeless? Does it ache when you hear about how immigrants are being treated? When you think about the widows and orphans of our day? I have 3 questions for you. Can you hold on to your earthly possessions loosely? We did well in our rummage sale this year because some of you were able to let go of your possessions. Can we give up more? St. John's many outreach ministries are an indication that we can let go of our resources for the sake of the poor. If you are unfamiliar with them, please check our weekly e-blessings where the needs are advertised. We can foster God's kingdom by supporting mission work, and that includes the livelihood of missionaries and their families. Second question, would you be ready to walk away from all your possessions? If not, what would be the most difficult to leave behind? Possessions are for the living, but you have some control of it when you die. If you have a will, what portion of your possessions will you leave to the church? The church with a capital C. As my mentor says, why be the richest man or woman in the cemetery? Investment is ultimately a trust matter. Does what Jesus Christ asks you to do seem too risky? What is acting like a barrier for you in trusting in God's economy and His promises? God asks us to invest in Him by investing in God's household. This is a righteous life that has approval in the sight of God. The good news for all of us who are struggling with this subject is that God promises peace of mind by having our daily provisions met, and that there is an enormous return and great joy for our investment into the unconventional economy of God. God's kingdom can break in any time. Will our Lord find us faithful when He comes?